Hi YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Knives and Beer. So on today's episode, I want to talk about knife steels. So, as you can see, I have a bunch of my knives out, ready to talk about. Today I'll be drinking Java Head Stout. It says brewed with coffee beans. The name of the brewery, I don't know for sure how to pronounce that. I'm going to guess Trogs. Don't know the exact pronunciation, but that's it. I'm going to open it with the Rexford Knives Rut. Cool little multi-tool with a bottle opener on it. See how it does. Well, pretty good. Popped it off nice and easy. There you go, nice and dark. Like how I like my beers. Give it a taste, I guess. So, like I said, I want to talk about knife steel. I guess to run through what I have sitting here first. I have 440C Boker, I believe AUS 8, Shenanigan, the Utilitac, also AUS 8, 8CR13 MOV, 154 CM. All of these are S35 VN. That one kind of gets a little cut off. Same with the HEA. Those are all S35 VN. S30V for these three, D2 for these two, LMAX, and ZDP 189. I believe that's what it's called. I guess I haven't looked at it in a while. Yep, ZDP 189. So, I kind of just wanted to give my thoughts on it, talk about knife steels. So, obviously knife steel is important because that's what you're using the knife for. You want to be able to cut things or whatever. You want to be able to use the blade. Most knives, the main part of it is the blade, whether it's a multi-tool or not, like a Swiss Army knife. Still, one of the most important things you use is the blade. So steel is important. All of these sitting here are not multi-tools, so really their only use is their blade. And I love all the steels on there, except I'd say the 440C Boker. So, start off here. I love the Boker because, one, it's a Tough Thumbs or Jeff Blavelt design, so I love that. Just having one of his designs, he makes crazy awesome customs. He originally made or started off by making little friction folders like this War Toad, so just cool to have one of his designs, but I really would have liked it to have a better steel. I might have said that in the review that I did, one of my first reviews on this channel. But yeah, it's a Boker Plus, so it was like $90 when I bought it. Made in China and everything, so it's not super surprising, but a giant thick piece of steel like that, that would have been really cool. If it was just something a little more high quality, something maybe just even S30V, which is a pretty common cheap steel compared to some of these other ones. Even D2, even though it'll rust more than 440C would, that would be stronger, the edge retention would be better. And especially because this is a chisel grind, you can see that is completely flat on that side. Then it's a deep hollow grind, and there's the secondary bevel. So just having that chisel grind, it's a lot harder to sharpen a chisel grind, make it all as sharp as a normal knife. It's harder for a normal person just to go and sharpen a chisel grind. So having one that would be a knife steel that'd be less likely needing sharpened. So just something a little stronger, maybe sharpen it less often. Oh, sorry, my nose is getting a little stuffy. So moving on, Kind of these three in the same category, all say 8CR13 movie. Cheap, nothing special about them. The Chinese Spydercos have that 8CR13 MOV. It's not bad. I've probably had this knife sharpened a couple times. I don't remember. It's never been like too bad or anything. It doesn't get crazy dull. Here's a piece of a plastic bottle. Let's see if it'll cut that. Yeah, so cut straight through that really easy. Obviously not the hardest thing to cut. Probably easier to cut than just a sheet of paper, but still not bad. It holds up. CPM 154 CM is obviously a good steel. S35VN is a great steel. Kind of overused, as you can see from that lineup of just what I have. So these 5 knives are mine. This one isn't mine. Just using this one for the video, but kind of overused. Riot uses it in most of their knives. I think they're moving, or at least some of their models are using M390 now. So that's a great steel, super strong, super corrosion resistant, I believe. So that would be a nice one to incorporate more. Price does go up a lot when you're doing that, but S30V is great. Kind of weird that this was, I think, about 150 when I bought it. The Pair 2 was 150 when I bought it. It's worth about 120 brand new. I bought it at a pretty high price. Then a $400 Strider also comes with an S30V blade, which is kind of weird. I feel like they could have gone up and definitely used a better steel on this. So S30V, or S30V is obviously not a bad steel in my book, but for the price, especially if cheap knives like that can have it, then I believe the Strider should kind of step it up a little more. D2, so kind of another thing. This was $86, I believe, the Carter Prime. Nice thick chunk of D2, stone washed, or acid washed and stone washed. So great steel. Never needed to sharpen that yet. Haven't really cut anything too hard with it or messed up the edge, but great steel on that, especially for $86. That was a crazy price. It went up a little bit after that, but that was like the first run of them. Then this, pretty thin. I think that might be 0.12 inches thick. Kind of a little blade. Kind of a weird horizontal like belt satin on it. This is the Browse Bionic, the first version, and this was about $170, I believe. So $170 knife with a little blade, thin blade stock and everything, and the knife next to it is only $86 and thick. So another kind of weird one. Elmax is a great steel. There was a problem with a lot of these because they had burned through the heat treat. So when people would test them, the Rockwell hardness wasn't to what it was supposed to be. So on some of them, don't believe on mine, I think you could look and see. Yeah, not on mine, but on some of them apparently you could look and see a little mark from where they tested it, where they dent it with a Rockwell hardness tester, and then however much it dents tells how strong it is. ZDP 189, super steel, very nice, holds up well. I've heard people complain about it, saying it's not that strong, but I've also seen cut tests from, I think Smoke Eater does a test where he cut through a bunch of rope and maybe wood, and then tested it after, and it held up great on a Spyderco Stretch, so the same type of knife almost, just a little different shape. Not corrosion resistant, that'll rust on you. So what I look for, after getting all those kind of out of the way, what I really look for is kind of over here in this section. So mainly these, also these three, but as you can see, that's only about half of my collection, a little more than half. But I look for something that's corrosion resistant like S30V or S35VN. So corrosion resistant, strong. I don't want it to rust. I don't want it to get kind of blemished or anything, kind of, I guess, or tarnishing. Kind of just want it to be corrosion resistant. I want the edge to hold up well. I don't want to be cutting something and have it mess up the edge so bad that I'll have to sharpen it after almost every use or something, or if I have to use it hard for a day, that it doesn't ruin the edge. The 154CN on this Griptilian, I talked about it in my last video, I believe. I used to cut weed whacker wire or weed whacker string with this all the time, just looping it around and ripping it through. And I don't believe I got it sharpened since then, but you can't see the blade messed up really. That is just plastic, but it's obviously not just cutting through tape or paper or boxes or anything every day. It was kind of hard work for it. So yeah, I just want it to hold up. I don't want something like this that I think is OS 8. I don't want something that'll just not be able to be used for a while. When I sharpen my knives, or I don't sharpen my knives, I take them to the local knife shop and have the guys there do it, because they do a great job. They just sharpened, what was it? They just sharpened this GPB1. Let me see if I can focus on my arm or on my freckles. So see it shaving off some of the hair. So I had that sharpened recently. They do a great job. They can usually get it hair popping sharp right when I walk out of there. It's just perfect, and it's like $2 or $3 for a sharpen. Nice price. If you buy a knife there, then they do it for free, so that's really nice. So I do that. I don't want to have to take my knife to them every week and get it resharpened. I want to maybe once a year, maybe twice a year or something, if I use it a lot, take it there and get it sharpened. And the reason I was getting that one sharpened was because I was messing around in my kitchen, and in my apartment the kitchen's so narrow that when I turned around I whacked it on the counter behind me, because the counter is so close to the other side of the kitchen that it messed up the tip of the blade. So it's a strong steel, but not strong enough to last smacking it into a counter, I guess. So went and got it sharpened. It wasn't dull yet or anything. Then after it was sharpened, it came back super sharp. So one good thing about these steels, kind of the cheaper, softer steels, they're obviously cheaper. So these 4 knives are some of the cheapest in my collection, other than that Carter Prime. So they're the cheapest. You can tell the steel, the materials, and everything, but they're also easy to sharpen. So like, even if I had to, I have sharpening supplies that I could kind of put an edge back on it. I would probably have more trouble putting an edge back on one of these ones. I also wouldn't trust myself to mess it up, because they're worth a lot more, and the steel's a lot sharper, or a lot harder to sharpen. But those are just soft. They're easy to work with. People like working with those more, I've heard, when they're using the sharpening kits. I don't remember which ones people use and stuff, but yeah, these ones, like this HEA, I haven't had this one sharpened yet. The blade's held up great. You can kind of still see the factory sharpen on that. I think it's S35VN. I don't think it says, or it doesn't say anything on the blade, which I do really like. I don't really like that messing up the flow of the knife and everything, so good work on that. Some of the finishes I like. That's kind of all I have to say about blade steels. Really what I look for is just strength and corrosion resistance. It's kind of the two characteristics people look for. Another thing I look for when I'm buying a knife is like the blade finishes. So this one's got a satin flat with bead blasted grinds. I like the look of that. Really nice looking. Kind of like this, kind of the vertical belt satin that they put on with a grinding belt. It looks pretty nice. It kind of looks a little cheaper, even though this is a $220 knife probably. I like the stone-washed flat right there. Don't know if I like the flat grind right there, though. That's same with my ZT 0452. Yeah, 0452 CF. You can see how perfectly straight all of the lines are. As you can tell, it was done by a machine and everything. I just never really liked that as much. You can see it also on this Benchmade. A little harder to see, but you can kind of see some vertical patterns right there. You can tell from a machine. You can see it on the flat a little better, it looks. Just more machine done. It's a production knife, so it should look machine done anyway. I just don't really like how it looks. This one is also obviously done on machine because it's a production knife, but it's got a full stone wash. It's kind of like a polished stone wash. They might have left it in the stone washer for a long time and polished it with it, or put some polishing ceramic in with the stone wash, I guess. I don't know, but I really like the look of that. Looks great on the flat and the grind and the swedge up there. Let's get to a different one. Here's one. Kind of a half and half. It's got a really dark stone wash, acid wash with satin flats. I like the combination. Goes well with the handle and everything. Another one of just stone washing. Some of the cheap ones, pull out one of those. This one is just a really cheap looking blade. You can kind of tell. Let me pull something else out. So when you look at the Kaiser, you can kind of see where it transitions from flat to grind. It's kind of a solid. You can see the angle and everything. You can feel it. It's just really a solid angled line. Well, on some of the cheaper ones, it's kind of rounded. It kind of just looks like it goes from the flat to the grind, kind of weird. This is all rounded up here on the swedge. I never really liked that. You can also tell kind of a weird polish to it. I would have preferred this to be in like a stone washed look, kind of hide all of the those weird looks with the grinds. And a lot of the cheap knives have that. This one doesn't really matter because I stone washed that myself. We already looked at the Boker, but I just love that full flat satin right there. The entire blade is just flat because of that chisel grind. Then this side looks great. You can see the defined angles right there and there with the grind. That one's kind of rounded off, which I don't like as much. Then back here, probably my favorite out of all of them is the bead blasted tiger stripe. So I think what they do is they coat the whole blade in a black whatever powder coating or something, and then they sandblast little lines in it, and that's what makes it the tiger stripe. I think that's how they do it. I love the look of it. Just looks mean. Matches the handle really well. Some of these come with a stone-washed blade and this type of handle, I think. Kind of mismatched looking to me because that flamed tiger stripe, and that green just go together so well, I think. Love the way that looks. Another deep, dark stone wash. One that really throws me off because it reminds me of the Utilitac. They both look pretty much the same to me. This one is AUS 8 and this one is D2. So both not that amazing steels, but this one was $170. This one was, I think, $25 maybe 32. I don't remember. Under $35. So it's kind of bad when those blades look the same. You can see all the rounds off on the flipper tab down there. It just kind of always looked cheap to me, and I never really liked that. I wish I would have gotten like a stone washed, maybe an acid washed. Maybe that would have looked better. They did offer those. I do like the, I think there's a bead blasting down in that fuller a little bit. Another full stone washed one. Looks great. And the flat satin ZDP 189. So a lot of these are the same. There's not many variations you can go through, I guess. Kind of just satin, normal colored steel, or acid washed, or stone washed, or both. So not many options. I think some go better than others. I think if this one had a full stone wash blade, it wouldn't look the same. Or acid wash blade, it wouldn't look the same. It wouldn't look as good as just a stone wash blade. But that's pretty much what I think about the steels. Obviously, just this section over here is kind of my preferred section. Moving these two over there, kind of, because these are LMAX and ZDP 189 is both great steels. Kind of cheaper over here and cheaper up here. So a lot of them match the price. Some of them don't match the price. This one is not as good steel for a high price and pretty good steel for a really low price. So those are two things kind of to mixed around about these. These are all pretty much the same price probably, and they all have about the same or they all have the same blade steel. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel, the other knives and beer. I don't know what this one is. It's probably episode 6. Could be, I guess we'll see. Thanks for watching, and check out my other stuff. See you next time.